Why are metal websites running illegal casino ads? There is a very poisonous part of advertising now called sponsored content, or some people call it native advertising. Basically, it means that the ads are embedded into the content that you're accessing in a way that really blurs and sometimes even erases completely the separation between the content and the advertisement. And there is a big economic incentive to participate in this. You know, I regularly get emails from companies asking me to do this kind of stuff, which is surprising to me because I am not a particularly popular website or content creator. So imagine how much you would get if you are actually a famous brand. And basically what they offer is to pay me a certain amount of money to post an article that sometimes they write and other times they want me to write. And in these articles, I will insert a link to some questionable company that is paying me to do that. And they always want me to not label the article as an ad. And this is actually important because even though we all know that websites carry ads or sponsored content or native advertising or whatever you want to call it, this needs to be labeled, at least in the United States and in the European Union, because it is important that consumers know that what they're being shown is advertisement and not actual content. Now, to be clear, the companies that have offered me these absolutely illegal deals are not exactly reputable companies. It's not like Canon, Samsung, Volkswagen, or something like that. Are making these offers, at least not to me. I don't know how it is for other people. In my case, the offers come from online gambling websites. You know, those questionable and opaque organizations normally incorporated somewhere in the Cayman Islands or some other tax haven, and who actively profit from human misery. As you can guess, I don't like gambling, but I do know that a lot of people do, and it's absolutely fine if that is how they want to spend their money. It's their money, and it is their business how to dispose of it. But beyond the fact that I may have issues with the business or the ethics of gambling, I don't think that metal websites should be trying to grab fans and turn them into gamblers. Our audiences tend to be pretty young, so bombarding them with undercover and illegal gambling ads seems like a really shitty thing to do. But that is exactly what some of the biggest heavy metal websites are actually doing nowadays. MetalSucks, Metal Injection, Metal Insider, Ghost Cult, and many others constantly do this with their articles. So let's take a look at some examples. Let's look at this article from MetalSucks, for example, from just a few days ago. Rock music and gambling, the growing connection? Well, no, there isn't really a growing connection between rock music and gambling, but you're going to read an article saying that it is when, whoop, there it is. There is a link for an online casino that is actually paying you to say that that this connection actually exists. Or let's look at this one from MetalSucks. What makes heavy metal and gambling so connected? Well, also, what do you know? Another ad for a casino. Or what about, how music makes casino gaming more fun? They're not even changing the photos, of course. Now, here is the really fun thing. How music makes casino gaming more fun is an article about which I actually contacted MetalSucks in the past because I wanted to know why they were running this advertisement without labeling it as such. And it just so happened that I had other projects on the way. I never was able to actually finish that project. But they did change it after my email, because before it says that it was written by Vince Neilstein, who's it's the pen name of the founder of this magazine. But after that, it became by MetalSucks, which probably makes sense when you consider that the FCC has extremely strong and serious rules about how to label your content. There is also metal and rock in casino games. This one goes back to 2019, and it also has ads for these casinos. Now, of course, you could tell me that maybe this editorial was written by MetalSucks because they really feel that there is a story worth telling about metal and rock in casino games. But there isn't really a story here. They're just giving you links to casinos. Or what about the most hardcore bonuses casinos offer in 2021? An important news article from MetalSucks, which also has a bunch of links to online casinos, at no point labeled as an ad. This is very important. An in-depth look into music and its role in the gaming industry. I wouldn't go as far as to call it in-depth because it doesn't actually say anything. It only has a link to a slots website. And it mentions such important things as theme. It is the composition that you hear when the game starts. Thank you, MetalSucks. I am so happy that this hard-hitting journalism is finally being made. Now, I like to point MetalSucks because I think that they're a terrible publication, but they are not the only ones doing this. Metal Injection, the exact same crap. Top 4 metal songs inspired by video games by Robert Pasbani, working for Metal Injection. Well, what do they have here? Europalace Casino. Is it labeled anywhere? Can we see that there is a label anywhere that says that this is an ad? No, it is actually latest news. What are the best songs about poker ever written? Also, news from Metal Injection. Well, we go a little bit down. Boom, poker terminology, 888poker.com, another online casino. Or what about the best metalhead casinos available? And of course, they are getting paid for this, and they're sending you there. Or from Metal Insider, the 4 best heavy metal songs about gambling. That is an article that truly needed to be written. It is something that really the world needed to see. Finally, we can put it to rest. Well, what do we have here? Betting sites at betnj.com. Or what about this one from Metal Insider? Metal stars who enjoy gambling. This is just from last year. Well, what do we have here? Some stories about Godsmack and Scott Ian of Anthrax and Lemmy from Motorhead. It uses those images using the likeness of Anthrax, Scott Ian, Lemmy Kilmister, and Sully Erna from Godsmack in what is essentially an ad so that you can go and bet in this casino. But you know what? Who is this person? Jason Copley, who enjoys rock music and who also writes about gambling. All right, let's look it up. What happens if you just look for Jason Copley and we put gambling? What do you know? We go to tennistourtalk.com. He also has something there. He really likes gambling. Okay, it is almost as if these people are just made up individuals. So for example, this article, Best Food Games and Online Casinos for the site yummiestfood.com, written by the same Jason Copley, who enjoys everything, I guess, because he likes foods and candy and tennis. I think myths of casino deposit, best casinos with phone apps. Why do gamblers play slots online instead of online? I mean, this is all made up. This is a fake person. Arcadepunks.com. All right, does he also love arcades? He might. Okay, we get once again to this Jason Copley in Arcade Punks. Jason Copley loves arcade games, but he also loves casinos. So best arcade casino games. So it's clearly just a pen name for somebody who writes content for advertisement. Let's look at this one from Metal Insider. The benefits technology is having on metal music. We go down a little bit, and here we go. Opportunities at PayPal casinos. What is a PayPal casino? It's certainly not run by PayPal, but it is very much a gambling website too. Wow! Electrifying metal experience in an online casino, also by MetalSucks, and also an ad. Or let's look at this article also from MetalSucks. Heavy metal musicians and their hobby, gambling. I don't know if I would call it a hobby, but you know, it is what it is. Now, if we go here under Lemmy's story, we can see that, there we are, casinos. Scott Ian too. No, I think the link was only at the beginning. No, actually there are more. But yes, here it is. Best paying casino play. This is all an ad. And they're using the likeness of these musicians to get you to go and bet. But MetalSucks and Metal Injection are not the only one. We can see it also in Ghost Cold. 5 cool and kicking rock songs about card games, which also has an ad there. Now, all of these websites are part of the Blast Beat Heavy Metal Ad Network, but not all the websites in that network are actually engaging in these practices. At least I couldn't find it. I would be interested in knowing what is kind of the ownership structure that exists in regard from these websites in regards to the Blastbeat ad network, because that could create some interesting questions when it comes to the liability that these people certainly deserve on the basis of how they are deceiving their readers by pushing illegal advertising upon them. Now, why does it matter? Who gives a shit, right? Well, I do think that it matters, particularly in the case of MetalSucks, which labels itself as some sort of progressive protector of heavy metal fans, trying to say that everybody else is a transphobe or a fascist or a Nazi, and that at the same time they're taking money from these organizations in order to get kids to start gambling. So I do think that that is morally and ethically repulsive. And just to be clear, this isn't just because I personally dislike gambling. It's an obviously deceitful practice. People click on articles, they think that they're going to see something that they're actually interested in, not knowing that what they're actually seeing is an ad. And this is a problem, obviously, because if a website that you trust tells you, hey, you know what? Metal is cool and gambling is metal, and what are the odds? Here's a link to a casino. They are abusing your trust and they are lying to you for profit. And I know that if you're listening to this, you probably think that you're way too smart to ever fall for something like this, but so does everyone else. Everybody thinks that they're immune to advertisement, while at the same time we know that advertisement works. Plus, there is also another fact. These are the ones we found. I obviously didn't go through every article in these websites and clicked on every link. So I would not be surprised if there are more hidden ads in them. So what can you do in this situation? Well, the first thing that I would recommend is to simply stop visiting these sites. And I don't say that so that you come see what I do or agree with what I say. It's absolutely fine if you find another alternative. Or even it is absolutely fine if you go back to those sites once they change their practices. You should not accept that magazines or that websites that you trust exploit you like this. So simply make it clear to them, I will not give you the opportunity to lie to me for profit. And if you're in the United States, you can actually go to the FTC's website at reportfraud.ftc.gov and file a complaint against those websites that are deceiving you like this with their advertisements. You don't need to let them get away with this, but as long as you continue supporting them, these practices will continue. Until next time, stay metal.